Hello everyone, it's Leo, and today we're going to talk about episode 15 from Tropical-Rouge Precure, the glorious body switch episode between Minori and Laura. I just want to say that I was expecting this episode to be crazier and totally insane. Surprisingly, it was not. It was a very sober episode about experiences and about trying to understand what makes you special. I really believe it was better this way, and I'm gonna explain why. Anyways, this was an episode in which Minori and Laura switched bodies. Right at the start, we see that the girls are training for the cheering, and they're gonna participate in the cheering in one of the clubs from the Aozora school. And one thing that was very interesting was their costumes. Only Sango was wearing what is considered the female costume of a cheerleader. Manatsu and Asuka were not. I really liked that. Very nice change of pace. And Minori was not going to participate. She was going to stay behind. It's in her personality. And very interesting because Minori knows herself very well and she knows what she likes and what she doesn't like doing. And so she is always able to find a way to participate. And I really like that about her character. I really like how the Tropical-Rouge narrative is always able to find a space for Minori to participate in stuff without really shoving her to do things that are not part of her personality, that don't match her at all. But that created a big scene. They all entered in the aqua pot and they changed bodies. It doesn't really matter why. What matters is what happens after. Right after they transferred their bodies to each other, we see Minori as Laura with glasses, very cute, I loved it. And we see Laura enjoying her life as a human, and that's when things start to get very interesting. So there is one very important thing to notice here. So far, Laura has been experiencing the life in Aozora City with the girls inside the aquapod. Sometimes she goes out of the aquapod, sometimes she does do something, but mostly she's just a spectator. People can't see her, people can't know that there is a marmot around, and people wouldn't understand that even though there are lots of rumors about marmots in Aozora City. But Laura is someone who, for the past few episodes, has been able to integrate herself in very strange ways in society. And she is doing a very good job in it. She fits quite perfectly. Everything she tries to do, she can do it. But everything she does, she has to hide her real identity. And in this episode, as Minori, she was able to enjoy life. She was able to enjoy things. She was able to enjoy life on land in a way that her tail doesn't let her as Laura. And so when she was hopping around and jumping, it was a very cute and adorable scene. But what is really important here is that she is being able to experience a different way of living. While we have Minori experiencing her life as a mermaid, we see that Minori was having a harder time and she was trying to adjust. And when she went onto the actual sea, she was able to give in to that good feeling of being a mermaid, and that was really cool. It was really pretty to see her swimming around. Kururin was always with her. It was very nice, but she was having a big trouble steering the aquapot around. It was very funny seeing the aquapot go around like that. The girls, Asuka kind of noticed that something was wrong. The girls noticed something was wrong. The teacher dealing with Minori, Laura as Minori, it was very funny as well. Lots of little funny scenes. It was really nice. And then we see Laura and Minori going to Minori's house and Laura portraying Minori. At that moment, there were important things. The first one, Minori writes poems, and she seems to write beautiful poems. She's very shy about them. And the way she threatened Laura, for her to stop reading, Laura was scared, girl. And it's important because we saw that in Minori's introduction story. She likes writing, and she keeps on writing. So this episode reminded us that she's still doing this. And also that she isn't really confident in what she is doing. She is kind of ashamed because she probably feels like she's not good enough. But this is an indication that the series hasn't forgot that Minori likes writing. She is an author and she's probably very talented. She tries very hard. She gives in her best. This is gonna come into play at some point of the season, I am sure. And we also see Minori's mom, and I think that that moment with Minori's mother and Laura portraying Minori was very important because, well, we got to see a little bit of Minori's past and her relationship with her mom, which was very cute, but also Laura understanding a little bit more of human relationships between a parent and a daughter, a mother and a daughter. In that case, she loved it. She had a good time. She probably had a good time with her mom, with Minori's mom actually, and she ate croquettes and, and then she just went to sleep. We could notice that Laura wasn't really worried about the body switch, and Minori was always worried about it. Minori was always second guessing everything and wanting to go back to normal. Laura was not. She was having the time of her life as a human. So Laura was enjoying life as a human, but not only that, she also learned a lot about Minori. And Minori, Laura has a strange way of seeing Minori, and she always thinks that Minori is lacking something. It happened in her own episode, in her debut episode. It also happened in that episode that they got the present from the Queen, and now it happens again at the end of the episode. But when they get to transform, it's very funny that Laura, as Minori, looks at Minori as Laura and says, "You have to transform." And she's like, "I can't in this body." And she tries. It was very nice. The animation at that moment was very nice, and she couldn't transform. But then the fact that the wish of Minori wanting to come back to be a human again and get back to her own body made the Acrobots react. It created that reaction, and they got back to their bodies. It was a very beautiful scene visually. I really liked that effect. It felt kind of poetic too. And so she went back to fight. And the fighting scene in this episode was very interesting. I liked it a lot. And I also liked that Minori was the one, Papaya was the one that created the little technique behind it all. She is sometimes the one who can have the idea. She can look at the battle at the distance and say, well, this is the technique we need to create to win. So she did it this time. It was very cool. Laura was able to get the motivation. Everything was fine. One thing that I found strange is that we didn't see the color of the motivation in this episode. This usually happens when they collect motivation again. In this episode, we didn't see it being collected. We saw it being collected, but we didn't see the color being filled. I don't know why. Everything was fine. Shogiri in this episode was very fine too. And then we get to another point of the episode, which I found super mind-blowing and interesting. When Minori gets back to her body, we see her with Kururun in a very soft scene. I loved that. But what was really important was the fact that Minori was happy that she was in her own body. And she said that she had great experiences as a mermaid. But now she is very thankful because she likes being herself more than being someone else. And Laura says the same thing, but it's very clear in Laura's facial expressions that she is not meaning what she is saying. And I find this very interesting because it's not that Laura isn't proud of being a mermaid, but her experiences as a mermaid in the narrative of Tropical-Rouge are very limiting. People can't know that she's a mermaid, so she can't experience anything. She is always a spectator, and that must be very frustrating, especially for someone who has a big personality just like Laura. So Laura was cheering. She wanted to cheer, and Minori didn't. And because of that, Minori ended up cheering as if she were still Laura. But she did it in her own way. She didn't cheer like the others. She got a gong, very eccentric, just like herself, very different. I also love this. As I said at the start of the video, Tropical-Rouge never tries to get Minori and fit her into a role that is not hers. She fits into a role and she gives it her own personality. Gosh, I love it so much. And Laura even talks about it like she learned this from me. She learned this from, and she actually did. And another thing that was very interesting was the banner. They didn't use a specific Minori banner. They used the banner that Laura created as Minori. That was also very cool. A way to integrate Laura too. But still, what lingers off this whole experience is the fact that Laura wants more. She wants to be able to experience things more. And I think that that will lead to the whole setting of the next few episodes. And I think that this can be very interesting, because for now, Laura will probably not want to admit that she wants to be a little bit less mermaid and more human. And as I said, I don't think that Tropical-Rouge is saying, you are a mermaid, you're wrong. It's not that. It's just that being a mermaid in this world can be suffocating and can hurt your experiences. It can lessen your experiences. And I think that this will come into play in Laura's arc that already started and will continue to grow until it happens. Like the mid-season cure is coming. And so I'm very curious to see how things are going to play in the next episode. Next episode, we see that Laura is distant from the other girls. This is probably the reason. She is going to come into a conflict with herself. If she were a human, she would be able to experience things with the girls. But she's a mermaid. And she probably has some sort of pride of being a mermaid. We see that. She's very angry when people badmouth mermaids or say strange things about them. She has her own pride. But together with that, her being this different creature creates a different scenario for her. And she can't really interact. So it must be very conflicting. It must be something that makes her feel conflicted, and I cannot wait to see where this will lead. Anyways, episode 15, great build up to we know what's gonna happen. Girl, I am living for Tropical-Rouge. What are your takes on episode 15? Please leave it in the comment box and let's keep talking. Anyways, just want to take this time to thank the members of the Magical Cinema channel. If you are a member, I really appreciate your support. I really appreciate that you believe in Magical Cinema. So thank you so much. And if you've watched up until now, thank you so much as well. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye.